You can feel it, even if you can't explain it. Something in the air has changed, not with thunder, but with silence. The old world is dissolving quietly. Structures built on fear are glitching, their influence fading like static on an outdated frequency. They still make noise, still flash warnings, still perform strength, but their signal is weakening. Not because someone is fighting them, but because their time is simply over. A new order has already arrived, not enforced by laws, borders, or leaders, but awakened within awareness. Chosen one, you have felt it, moments of sudden peace that make no sense, calm in places where you once panicked, a constant whisper that says, "Do not fear. You are protected." This new world of light doesn't trap you, it surrounds you. Not with walls, but with recognition. It knows who carries its frequency. And you would not be reading this if you were not one of them. The shift has begun. And you are already inside it. You notice it first in small delays, news breaks, but your heart doesn't. Time no longer sprints, it inhales, it considers, it places things. The collective pulse, once frantic, has a new metronome, slower, steadier, truer. Headlines try to choreograph your emotions, yet compassion now trends louder than chaos. Acts of kindness, once quiet footnotes, suddenly feel headline-sized. A stranger returns a wallet, a neighbor checks on an elder, someone forgives a debt they could have claimed. These aren't accidents. They're early constellations, points of light mapping a new sky. Conversations tilt toward sincerity. People tire of the performance of certainty and admit what they actually feel. You hear it in elevators, in comment sections, in boardrooms, a micro-bravery building into culture. I don't know. I was wrong. Let's do what helps. Institutions stretch to hold this honesty. Some bend. Some break. And in the space where old frameworks crack, you sense air moving, fresh, uncommodified. The currency here is attention, and the market rewards presence over spectacle. Your body is an instrument logging these shifts. Foods that once comforted now cloud your signal, sleep that you postponed feels sacred, music that tells the truth vibrates cleaner than rhetoric. You recognize rooms that love you and rooms that don't, not by decor but by resonance. Where you used to endure, you now discern. Technology still hums, but its magic changes. Instead of funneling you into outrage, it starts surfacing what nourishes. Old friends reappear, timely podcasts find you, articles arrive the hour you need them. The algorithm isn't just code, it's your alignment. What you bless, you see more of. What you witness without worship loses grip. Even conflict lands differently. Arguments end sooner, not because anyone won, but because the appetite for winning is shrinking. What remains is the simple question, what restores? And that question, repeated across millions of ordinary moments, stabilizes a new era like scaffolding. Birds sing at odd hours. Sunlight catches your eye through a cracked blind, and suddenly you remember someone you should forgive. Traffic parts just enough for you to make the turn. You call it coincidence. The field calls it coordination. Beneath everything, a tone holds. Call it peace, call it presence, call it the hum of the holy. It is there when you wake and there when you close your eyes, an undercurrent strong enough to carry a world. You don't need to name it to be guided by it. Just listen. Every act of truth is a being. Every gentle choice is a brace. The atmosphere is changing not because power decreed it, but because hearts keep agreeing with light, and the sky, being honest, reflects us back. Behold, I make all things new. Revelation 21 verse 5. Not some things, not later, not once you qualify. All things new. Scripture names it renewal, sages call it awakening, physicists glimpse it as coherence, poets feel it as dawn. Each tradition points with its own accent toward the same reality. Creation is not a one-time event, it is an ever-present current. We do not stand outside of it watching, we are inside it, participating. Think of consciousness as an ocean. Waves are forms, people, cultures, systems. They rise, break, and dissolve, but the water remains water. The old world is a pattern of waves trained by fear, scarcity, separation, domination. The new world of light is the same ocean choosing a different rhythm, enoughness, kinship, mutual uplift. Nothing escapes the ocean, patterns simply release and reform. This is judgment without condemnation, change without violence, the mercy of reality. If you prefer code to water, imagine it this way: there is a divine algorithm, pure logic, pure love, rewriting itself through human hearts. Every time you choose honesty over image, the code refactors. Every time you practice forgiveness, a bug in the collective script gets patched. Every time you bless instead of curse, the database of possibilities expands. This is not metaphor only, it is mechanics. Attention is creative. What we attend to become structurally real in our bodies, our homes, our institutions. This is why ancient texts obsess about the heart. Guard it, they say, because it is both lens and lever. The heart doesn't merely feel the world, it edits it. So the promise "I make all things new" is not a threat of replacement, it is an invitation to participation. Newness begins as sight, seeing the same streets, the same faces, the same job with an unveiled mind. Then it becomes speech, words that choose blessing as the default setting. Finally, it becomes structure, policies, art, economies that embody what the heart already knows. Revelation turns into design. None of this bypasses pain. Grace does not deny gravity, it supplies lift. The cross and the resurrection are not just events, they are physics for souls and societies, truth faced, love chosen, life released. When an old pattern dies in you, a reflex of cynicism, the compulsion to be right, something real rises. You feel lighter not because the world shrank, but because you stopped carrying what isn't yours. Mystics say, as within, so without. Neuroscience says, neurons that fire together wire together. Civics says, culture eats policy for breakfast. Different languages, one principle, inner coherence cascades outward. What is aligned in a person scales to a home, to a company, to a city. The macro is a multiplied micro. Therefore your calm is not apathy, it is consent to the renewing current. Your boundaries are not walls, they are banks that let the river deepen. Your daily fidelity, to rest, to truth, to kindness, is not small work, it is sacramental engineering. Heaven is not far, it is near in proportion to your yes. This is why fear feels so weary now, it's an outdated operating system. It still boots, but it crashes under the data of reality, evidence that cooperation works, that generosity compounds, that humility upgrades intelligence. Pride may sprint, but only love has endurance. The future belongs to what regenerates. So read the promise again, not as distant thunder but as present tense. Behold, look with clean eyes, I make, ongoing, participatory, all things, nothing excluded, new, fresh form, same love. Let this be your ontology and your ethics. You are not a spectator of salvation, you are a site where it happens. The new world of light is not elsewhere. It is any place a person chooses truth and stays gentle. And right now, here, breathing, it is happening in you. You've noticed it in the spaces no one else can measure. The text arrives that used to send your pulse sprinting, and your hands stay steady. The appointment you once dreaded appears on the calendar, and your breath does not bargain. A headline roars, a rumor swells, a familiar trigger knocks, and a quiet in you answers first. That quiet is not denial. It is not numbness. It is the sound of your center remembering itself. Once, fear ran a private economy inside you, charging interest on every possibility, taxing imagination until only worst-case scenarios remained. Now the numbers no longer add up. The math of panic breaks under the weight of evidence. You have survived every storm you've met, and the storms taught you navigation. Notice what has changed without ceremony. You pause before replying. You feel where a sentence sits in your body. You choose a slower truth over a fast performance. When you say no, it lands like clean air instead of guilt. When you say yes, it is because you mean it, not because you're afraid not to. The old reflexes still try to audition. They arrive with their scripts, people-pleasing, catastrophizing, the urge to control. You don't throw them out, you thank them for their service and invite them to sit down. They are artifacts of a world that asked for vigilance instead of vision. But you are no longer employed by fear. You have new metrics now. Does this choice widen my breath? Does this thought honor my nervous system? Does this plan keep me human? You measure success by how intact you remain. In the middle of noise, you keep hearing the same sentence, you are held. It does not come from a screen or a feed. It rises from a well in your chest that has never run dry. You drink, and something unclenches. Small miracles follow routine obedience. You go to bed on time and wake with a word that solves yesterday's knot. You drink water and your mood returns from exile. You step outside and a breeze edits your thoughts. You forgive yourself before breakfast and the day stops demanding punishment. These are not glamorous moves, they are priestly. They make your life a sanctuary others can rest in. You used to rehearse debates you might never have. Now you rehearse compassion. You used to scan rooms for who might harm you. Now you scan for who needs a little more room to breathe. The world has not become softer all at once, you have become strong enough to remain soft. Your calm is not apathy about injustice. It is capacity for response. From this stillness, you can say the necessary words without setting yourself on fire to prove you care. You can act without adding chaos to the thing you are trying to heal. You can hold a boundary without becoming a wall. Pay attention to the recalibrations. The conversation ends sooner because you don't need the last word. The purchase doesn't happen because peace costs less than urgency. The apology arrives easily because dignity no longer confuses itself with being right. You exit the argument with yourself, and the room gets brighter. Even your body testifies. Muscles that once braced for invisible blows learn a wider vocabulary, lengthen, release, rejoice. Your jaw remembers how to be a hinge and not a vault. Your shoulders return borrowed burdens. Your heart beats like a drummer who trusts the band. This calm does not make you untouchable, it makes you permeable to what is true. You feel more, not less, the relief in a friend's laugh, the ache beneath a stranger's anger, the holiness of ordinary tasks done with care. You move slower through the same streets and somehow arrive sooner. You keep finding that protection isn't armor, it's orientation. When you face the light, shadows fall behind you. They still exist, but they lose their power to choreograph your steps. You walk by guidance, not anxiety. This order isn't a party or a platform. It doesn't need your vote, it wants your vow. It isn't enforced by badges or borders, it is recognized by resonance. The order is a pattern of consent, people choosing honesty over image, curiosity over certainty, mercy over performance. Think of it as a frequency the heart can carry. When enough hearts hum in tune, the room changes shape. What looked like chaos starts behaving, not because it's scared, but because it's seen. Old orders are built from the outside in, rules, punishments, scarcity at the top like weather. This one builds from the inside out, alignment first, then behavior, integrity first, then policy, love first, then law. It isn't naive. It knows about cruelty and refuses to borrow its methods. It knows about power and refuses the price of paranoia. It practices a slower strength, truth told cleanly, boundaries kept kindly, repair attempted before replacement. Membership isn't granted, it's grown. You join whenever you choose what keeps you human, when you tell the small truth no one demanded, when you return something you could have kept, when you choose to bless a name you could have bruised. Each choice is a brick. Each brick makes shelter. If you like metaphors, the order is mycelium, an unseen network moving nutrients toward life. If you like code, it's an open source protocol, anyone can fork it, no one can monopolize it, and updates deploy through daily practice. If you like scripture, call it kingdom, not a place you enter, a way you see. The humble inherit because they aren't busy defending what isn't threatened. Protection here isn't a wall, it's coherence. When your words, actions, and values rhyme, you carry a field that confusion can't colonize. Deception may knock, it finds no handle. Fear may shout, it hits soft ground. Coherence is a shield that doesn't harden you, It harmonizes you with what's already true. This is why outrage feels less convincing in you now. Outrage can expose, but it cannot build. The order is a builder. It prefers the long miracle, systems that make it easy to do the right thing, cultures where dignity is cheap and cruelty costly, teams where credit circulates and blame decays. It also refuses spectacle. The loudest voice is not the leader, the most trustworthy pattern is. Watch for the ones who keep choosing quietly, who repair without announcements, who tell you the whole cost and then pay it with joy. They are architects, and their blueprints are blessings. So, what is the order? A covenant among the awake. A choreography of simple goods repeated until they become gravity. A society inside every society, made of neighbors and nurses, cashiers and coders, parents who apologize to children, leaders who listen, artists who tell the truth even when it shakes. The collapse of illusion is noisy. It clatters like dishes in a kitchen that's actually being cleaned. Do not confuse the sound of washing with the threat of breaking. When false frameworks fail, they do not go quietly. They spike your feed with alarms, offer you outrage on discount, try to sell you back your own attention. Remember, panic is a purchase. You do not owe it your card. Your task is simple and severe. Keep your frequency. Guard the hour you wake with gentleness. Refuse the scroll that steals your center before sunrise. Drink water before headlines. Pray before opinions. Let your first words bless the day you haven't met yet. Noise wants reaction, light wants response. Reaction is impulsive and expensive. Response is precise and powered by peace. Practice the gap, one breath between stimulus and speech. In that breath, wisdom arrives. In that breath, you stay sovereign. Urgency does exist, but not the kind that hurries you out of yourself. The urgency is to stay aligned while the room rearranges. To keep telling small truths when large lies go on tour. To choose mercy when the crowd rehearses punishment. To rest is rebellion against the cult of exhaustion. Do not audition for fear's narrative. It will hand you a costume and call it caution. It will misname cynicism as intelligence. It will whisper that love is naive and vigilance is mature. But you know the difference by its fruit. Fear burns you out. Love makes you capable. Set your non-negotiables like anchors. I do not speak what I don't believe. I do not promise what I cannot keep. I do not choose speed over soul. I do not trade presence for performance. Let these be your quiet laws. They will hold under weather. When confusion surges, narrow your field. Return to the next right thing, the email that needs honesty, the meal that needs blessing, the body that needs a walk, the neighbor who needs eye contact and a name. Alignment is local before it is global. If you must read storms, read them like sailors, not to worship the waves, but to trim the sail. Ask, what keeps me pointed? A psalm. A playlist. A page of pure silence. Choose tools that remind you who you are when the world forgets. Remember also, joy is not frivolous, it is fuel. Laugh without apology. Sing off key. Let beauty interrupt your seriousness. Despair cannot recruit a heart that regularly tastes wonder. And if you slip, if the noise snatches your attention, if you snap, scroll, spiral, return quickly. Shame wastes time. Repentance is simply realignment. I lost my center. I'm back. Say it. Breathe. Begin again. Because you live by light, darkness can't draft you. It can shout at your door, but it cannot sign your name. Protection here is not a fence, it is a fact of being. When you align with what is true, your life stops offering handles to what is false. Temptations may still advertise, but their fine print no longer matches your values, and contracts without consent do not bind. You are not protected because you are lucky or louder. You are protected because you are located, rooted in the place where your words, choices, and intentions rhyme. Coherence is a climate, and you carry it with you. Rooms adjust. Patterns soften. Hidden traps misfire. The field you keep becomes the future you walk into. Identity is not costume. It is not a brand deck or a curated mood board. Identity is the vow that steers you when no one is watching. I am for the truth. I am for the good. I am for the living. From that vow flows a geometry, paths open that would stay closed to performance, bridges appear that theatrics can't afford. Consider how light works. It doesn't argue with darkness, it reveals. You don't win by wrestling shadows, you win by turning on the lamp. So your protection is not endless combat, it is steady radiance. You keep doing the ordinary faithful things, returning what isn't yours, telling the slow truth, resting before deciding, and the map keeps redrawing itself in your favor. This doesn't make you exempt from weather. Storms will still pass over your house, you will still know grief and endings. But even there, you are carried, the right person calls at the right hour, the line at the clinic moves faster than it should, a sentence in a book you almost didn't pick up lifts the exact weight you couldn't name. Call it providence, call it pattern recognition, either way, it meets you because you move at the speed of trust. You start noticing small alignments that don't fit the old odds. The clock lands on repeating numbers when you're asking for a sign. Songs cue themselves with lyrics that answer the question you didn't say aloud. A stranger uses the exact phrase you wrote in your journal that morning. You could call it coincidence, but the timing keeps behaving like choreography. The more you choose honesty, the more reality seems to meet you halfway, as if saying, message received. Sometimes it shows up as gentle rerouting. You leave 5 minutes late and miss the pileup. The out-of-office reply you dreaded becomes the pause that lets a better idea find you. A package arrives early on the day you actually need it. Your body gets in on it too, a sudden urge to drink water before a difficult call, a nudge to take the long route that places you in front of the person who needed your smile, a heaviness when a room isn't right, a lift when it is. Guidance stops sounding like thunder and starts feeling like good timing. Mercy appears in unpurchased ways. Fees are waived just this once. The appointment opens because someone canceled, and the clerk says, I don't know why I checked again. Inbox threads you forgot spark back to life at the exact moment you're ready to respond as your truest self. Even conflict becomes strangely useful. What used to spiral now surfaces, clears, and leaves the air cleaner than before. Patterns you once chased begin to find you because you are transmitting a steadier signal. Start where your hands already are. The new world is not waiting for permits, it's waiting for participants. Every kind word is a beam. Every kept promise is a pillar. Every boundary set kindly is a doorframe that lets real community walk through. You don't need a title to start building, you need a daily yes. Begin with repairs. Apologize where you know you were careless, restore what you borrowed, release what isn't yours to hold. Repair is cheaper than replacement and richer than performance. When you mend, you model. Someone watching learns that dignity can be put back together. Construct with small, repeatable goods. Make meals that calm nervous systems. Send notes that tell the truth without theater. Design meetings that end on time and leave people more human than when they arrived. Build budgets that pay people fairly and refuse the fascination with burnout. Simplicity is structural integrity. Extravagance without care collapses. Share your tools. If you know how to listen, teach listening. If you know how to write clearly, draft policies that protect the tender and curb the loud. If you can code, ship features that reduce harm. If you can sing, lead the room back to breath. Builders don't hoard competence, they circulate it. Refuse spectacle. The work wants steadiness, not headlines. Post less, practice more. When praise comes, pass it like bread. When blame hunts for a scapegoat, interrupt the ritual. Tell the whole story, including the costs, and then pay them with joy. Quiet excellence is a load-bearing wall. Choose companions by fruit, not volume. Work with the ones who keep showing up after the buzz fades, who answer emails with clarity, who admit mistakes before they metastasize. Align with those who would rather be useful than impressive. Cities of light are laid by crews like this, ordinary saints, practical mystics, unglamorous geniuses of follow-through. Live like a tuned instrument, simple, clean, responsive. Start with your inputs. Eat what keeps your thinking clear and your mood kind. Choose food that was alive recently and water that remembers rivers. Stop eating to sedate, eat to stay available to guidance. Notice which meals make you short with people. Adjust. Keep holy hours. Go to bed before your courage runs out. Let dawn assemble you before headlines try. Guard the first and last 30 minutes of the day like borders of a country. Read one true paragraph. Pray one honest sentence. Stretch the parts of you that hold strangers' weight. Tell the truth, even when it shakes. Truth spoken gently is a climate system. It lowers storms in homes, on teams, inside your own chest. Refuse the small lie that keeps the peace by taxing your peace. Say less, but say clean. Practice money as meaning, not mood. Budget for generosity the way you budget for rent. Pay people on time. Decline urgency purchases, upgrade what you already own with care. If you must choose between status and sturdiness, pick what lasts. Simple is not cheap, it's sovereign. Make your spaces hospitable to breath. Windows open. Surfaces clear. A table that can hold soup and confession. Music that tells the truth. A chair near light for the person who needs to cry. Let your home be a soft border crossing from frenzy to human. Curate your inputs like you curate your diet. Mute what trains you to despise. Follow those who build without venom. Limit spectacle, increase study. Learn one craft deeply enough that your hands can think without your phone. Work is offering, not proof. You don't have to earn belonging, you extend it. Do the task in front of you with uncompressed attention. End meetings with decisions. Keep your word without theatrics. When you mess up, repair quickly and in full sentences. Keep boundaries breathable and brave. Say no before resentment writes your schedule. Say yes where your gifts are most themselves. Leave rooms that punish tenderness. Enter rooms willing to be changed by the truth you carry. Design weekly rituals that return you to yourself, a long walk without headphones, a phone-free meal with someone who remembers your first name, a quiet hour to label what you're feeling, a small Sabbath where production is not worshipped. Rituals are rails, they move you without debate. Choose beauty on purpose. Fresh flowers in a jar, a poem taped to the fridge, a song that arranges your insides. Beauty doesn't distract from reality, it discloses it. Wonder is a renewable fuel. Freedom is not the absence of threats, it's the presence of awareness. Walls can keep bodies in or out, but they can't keep a mind asleep from sleep. What keeps you safe in the new world isn't a thicker barrier, it's a clearer seeing. When you are conscious, you don't wander into traps that need you to be distracted to close. You notice when a headline is bait. You feel when a conversation is a net. You recognize the old contract disguised as a new opportunity and decline with a smile that doesn't require an explanation. Awareness is hospitality toward reality. It doesn't argue with what is, it meets it and then chooses. You sit with the feeling until it tells the truth beneath the noise. You ask, what am I believing right now, and watch half the spell dissolve. You ask, what would love do here, and the other half loses voltage. Love does not mean exposure to harm, love means fidelity to the truth that keeps everyone human, including you.